So I'd like to welcome Dr. Allison Martin, who's the Executive Director of the Livestock Conservancy, which is a nonprofit organization focused on preserving and promoting rare breeds, also known as heritage breeds of livestock. Allison, when I first became aware of the Livestock Conservancy and started working with heritage breeds all the way back in the early 1990s, it was still known as the American Minor Breeds Conservancy back then. Now, as a board member of the Livestock Conservancy, I know that our current mission of the Livestock Conservancy is much more direct and active than I think it was back then. And it is to protect endangered livestock and poultry breeds from extinction. So what I'd like for you to do for our audience today is I'd like you to tell us a little bit more about the mission and the work of the Livestock Conservancy and the programming that you're doing to make sure that you can, or we can, fulfill this mission.
Thank you so much, Norman. I appreciate being here today, and I really appreciate the strong partnership that we've had with Prairie through the years as one of our members who is actively conserving heritage livestock and poultry. So as you've pointed out, these are the farm animals that have become endangered. These are really the animals that that fit in a historical context of having been important on farms earlier in our history, and now they're finding new roles and new jobs on farms. And so what we're talking about is the kinds of cattle, sheep, chickens, and so on that maybe our grandparents would have raised, or our great grandparents. These are important not only from a historical context, but also in terms of the future of agriculture. We're in a time of climate change, and we're already seeing the effects on our weather in a variety of ways around the country, where we've got places where we have too much rain, we have places where we have too much drought, and heat is becoming more and more of an issue. And among these old breeds that date back, a lot of them have really good adaptations that help them survive in tough conditions. So this might be, for example, Texas Longhorn cattle that are very heat resistant, or at the other end of the spectrum, you have some of our breeds of sheep and cattle that are very cold tolerant and would do better in those kinds of situations. So we've got some breeds to meet every need. What we do at the Livestock Conservancy to prevent extinctions is that we work closely with breeders who are actually raising these animals. Some of them are individual family farms, many of them are, but they're also organizations such as yours that are helping bring attention to the breeds too. We help make sure that those breeders understand how to farm. Sometimes they're newer farmers. We help them understand what role these individual breeds can best fill on their farms, and make sure that they're doing a good job with the genetics of the breeding.
So Allison, to put our Livestock Conservancy mission into even perhaps more context for our audience today, I believe in 2006, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization estimated that we lose, on average, about 2 domestic animal breeds each week. And I think that's actually changed. And today, it's actually more than that. It's 1 domesticated livestock breed every month that's lost to extinction. So 1 in 5 of the world's livestock breeds are in danger of extinction today. As the executive director of the Livestock Conservancy, as an animal geneticist yourself, put that in perspective to our audience about why that's so alarming to hear, and why it's important for us to address as a society.
Right, and so that represents about 20% of our livestock globally that's in danger of disappearing altogether. And what's even more alarming to me is that about 50% of our livestock globally, we don't actually know what their status is. They live in areas where that there's no good numbers on whether they're increasing or decreasing. And so Livestock Conservancy is focused on the breeds and the animals that are here in the United States, but we work globally with international partners who, similar to our own organization, are focused on the breeds in their own country. So in Latin America, in Europe, to a lesser extent, we partner with colleagues in Asia and Africa as well, to make sure that uh, that we're sharing the best practices, the best ways that we know how to assess the genetic status of these breeds through DNA studies and through assessing the populations, uh, looking at how related animals are to each other, and how we work with the people who raise them, because that's a really, really important part of making sure that these animals don't disappear, is making sure that the farms that and the farmers that raise them are doing well and able to continue what they're doing.
So Allison, you've talked a lot about this international flair, and I mentioned earlier that when I first became aware of this organization, it was known as the American Minor Breeds Conservancy, and I think at one point in its life it was known as the American Livestock Breeds Conservancy, and now it's just the Livestock Conservancy. And one of the reasons for the video that we're actually taping today and that people will be seeing is to actually help promote International Heritage Breeds Week, which is taking place May 15th through the 21st of this year. And of course, that is a big program for the Livestock Conservancy. So can you tell us a little bit more about what to expect out of International Heritage Breeds Week and what it means to you personally as an animal scientist, and then also as the executive director of this organization?
You know, for International Heritage Breeds Week, this is really a time when we and our partners around the world can bring attention to these amazing animals that we're working on conserving. And it's very much of a grassroots celebration. And you ask about, what it means to me personally. I take particular delight in the efforts of individual owners and breeders who get out in their communities to show off their animals. One of my favorite events was a couple years ago when one of our members brought her American Mammoth donkey to an event at a local feed store, and she had this donkey actually in the feed store introducing him to to people in her community. As I mean, what better way to bring attention to an endangered breed, and in this case an endangered breed that's truly American. And if we don't preserve these animals, then nobody else in the world is going to do it, because they only exist here.
It's amazing how animals can become celebrities. When Roundabout was born, our English Longhorn,
Right. Yes.
he got a lot of notoriety because he was the first to be born genetically like that in North America, I think, ever maybe. So it's great that these animals can get the limelight, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And to spark the curiosity of children, to get their parents thinking about, okay, well, what does biodiversity mean on our farms? This is a real opportunity. And everybody who's doing these grassroots efforts or wants to support them, is using those hashtags of hashtag IHBW for International Heritage Breeds Week, or hashtag Heritage Breeds Week, to expand that, so it's not just the people on Conner Prairie who are celebrating your calf being born or in that feed store, but sharing those events with others, with the greater community that we now have through social media.
So what are some of the other activities? Obviously, putting the emphasis on local breeders and the things that they would do in a feed store, or perhaps even at a spring festival at elementary schools. I'm sure a lot of things like that are going on. But what are some of the other types of programs or activities that the Livestock Conservancy is focusing on that particular week to raise awareness?
We're also doing educational activities, and so helping people learn about individual breeds. For example, on our website, if you want to learn more about Acibal Island hogs, which you raised there at Connor Prairie. We have that information on our website, and so we're drawing people in to learn about the individual breeds. Farmers often contact us during and after International Heritage Breeds Week to find out what's best for their farms. And it's about also showcasing the successes of conservation, both by the Livestock Conservancy, but also by our international partners. So, for example, during International Heritage Breeds Week, we'll be talking with the Rare Breed Society of Australia to learn a little bit more about what are the unique challenges that they face and what are some of the success stories that they've had in conservation in Australia.
I think that our audience, if they're not familiar with the Livestock Conservancy and the work that we do to conserve these animals, they hear words like extinction and things like that. But if they go to our website, they'll actually see all the different lists of animals and poultry that we are looking to conserve. And there's varying levels of not of from extinction to just being normal. What are those levels? There's like watch list and those things. And tell us what that
Right.
means for breeders and for people that are coming to be educated about why it's so important to make sure that we're working with these animals before they ever get close to that critical level.
Right. And some of the work that we've done really has rescued some of these breeds from extinction. I mean, truly, when we first began working with turkeys, and of course, turkeys are native to North America, and heritage turkeys were on the brink of extinction when the Livestock Conservancy started working with them in 1997.
Really?
So yeah, there were fewer than there were 1,335 breeding birds of turkeys that were found in our first turkey census in 1997. And then 20 years later, there was 10 times that many. And in our most recent census that we just completed, interestingly enough, we found that there was over 650 flocks of turkeys, the majority of these family flocks, to bring it back to what an individual family can do, of heritage turkeys now being raised. So some really tremendous progress with the turkeys.
So
And that's an
Allison,
example of something that was critically endangered. So you ask about the classifications on our conservation priority list, and those that are most critically endangered, and for livestock, that would be fewer than 200 births per year. Um, and then as they improve in numbers, then you go from critical to threatened. And threatened would be fewer than 1,000 pedigree registrations per year. From threatened, then they improve to watch, and watch is fewer than 5,000. And then finally to recovering. And from recovering, we monitor them until they're ready to graduate from the conservation priority list when they're no longer considered endangered.
I think people might be interested to find that of our five or six, I always forget what we have now, five or six heritage breeds, but our Acibal Island hogs, but especially our Arapaho goats. I think there's fewer than 600 of those actually in the world right now. So that's a fun,
Right.
and we have a significant number of those here at Connor Prairie. But that's how, I mean, that's what the breeders, that's what we do. We're trying to keep move these animals from near extinction back into animals that are really part of this genetic pool that's protecting. So tell us a little bit more about that. When people think about livestock, they generally think about, their milk comes from jerseys, and they think about what is now these what would be modern breeds or contemporary breeds. Tell us why it's important for a place like Connor Prairie, especially to educate, to show the difference between these heritage breeds and modern breeds, and why it's important to keep on preserving them.
Yeah, and the two examples that you raised, Norman, are two that I think it'll be really helpful to understand here in the context of International Heritage Breeds Week. So the one you mentioned was the Acibal Pigs, and the Acibal Island pigs are one of those breeds that's unique to North America, and uniquely adapted to living in North America. And they've got traits that are like self-sufficiency that are not found in the more commercial types of pigs. And so for certain settings, those kinds of traits can be really important to hang on to. For example, I remember many years ago visiting Conner Prairie, and your livestock manager explained that your pigs, when they had the piglets in the spring, would they would co-mother, and so they would take on babysitting duties, and so the other mothers could go out and forage and eat, and the Acibal pigs are very good foragers, and so they don't have to be fed as much grain as other pigs. And so they would go out and forage while one or two of the aunties would take care of all of the babies. And that the experienced mothers would teach the new mothers how to build a nest to have their babies, and fend off anybody who might be bothering new mom as she was giving birth. And so these are some wonderful adaptations that you have in the Acibal pigs, and that are unique to a particular breed. At the other end of that spectrum, you mentioned the Arapaho goats. Well, here's an example of, from a scientific perspective, the genetic DNA studies have shown that they're not related to any other goat breed in the entire world. They originate from Arapaho Island in New Zealand, and the United States now has about half of the global population of that, roughly 600 that you mentioned, and about 40 to 50% of those are here in the United States. So the role that we play in that collaboration with international partners of maintaining a unique genetic resource that, sometimes you may not necessarily know now why you need something for later. This is one of the interesting things about genetics and the new genetic tools, is that we may find that Arapaho goats have some gene in them that's important to goat survival in the future. And if we don't hang on to that, then we'll never be able to take advantage of that. Um, Even among the Acibal Island pigs, that opportunity for a unique genetic trait is there, in that they have genetics that actually make them an excellent research model for human heart disease. And so they've been able to use the Acibal pigs in that capacity, which I'm sure that when they were rescued nearly 40 years ago, that was not, people weren't saying we will save these so that they can become a model for human heart disease research. It was simply that it was a unique genetic resource, and only later was it discovered
Well,
that they had this unique capability.
well, Allison, I've got to tell you that, of course, any baby goat is cute
And
because they're
baby
so,
pigs too.
and baby pigs, but especially these little Arapaho goats, they're so active, and they're just
Yeah.
like little miniature. I mean, they're literally like little miniature versions of the adults, and our guests enjoy learning about them, but they really enjoy the activity of the flock, and how they you mentioned the Acibal Island pigs. I think our goats are very similar in the fact that, as well as the sheep. I mean, I think you see that communal approach that you get in barnyards, and you get in those type of settings, and that's a big part of what we're able to show at Conner Prairie with our breeds and with our animal encounter barns and those types of things. So for our audience that once again may not be as familiar with the Livestock Conservancy, give us a real just brief overview of the type of members that we have, how many, and what you think are probably our, other than International Heritage Breed Week, what some of our top programs are that our audience might be interested to learn about.
Sure. So we are a membership organization, founded in 1977 and still going strong. About 3,500 members currently, and probably close to 20,000 followers, both in the US and around the world. And as I mentioned earlier, we do work directly with farmers who are raising the animals, but our membership's a lot more diverse than that. And so it ranges from scientists who have an interest in the type of animals that we raise to people who have a deep interest in conservation of natural resources and biodiversity of all kinds, to members like yourselves who are historical farms and find value not only in the role that these animals and their ancestors played on historical properties and in the history of the United States, but also in, thank you very much, helping to bring awareness of the importance of conservation to the broader public, and just simply the joy that animals bring to everybody. So real diversity among our members. And then we some of our programs that we do would be working with the individual farms that are raising them, doing research on the breeds to understand the role that they play, both genetically and on the farm. Working with other partner organizations uh, for for doing the census that we referred to understanding, tracking the status of how endangered these breeds are, whether they're improving or declining, um, and really kind of setting the stage for growth and for larger numbers. Um, some of the recent successes that we've had in the past year, we've worked carefully with breeders of a unique American breed called Gulf Coast sheep. We've just completed a census on that. We're now collecting DNA, and we're going to be collecting some tissue samples for cryopreservation. So what that means is that we're collecting um, uh, genetic material, cells from the animals that we can put into a freezer, sort of a frozen seed bank, if you will, for heritage breeds. And we're doing that with a number of breeds. We've launched a marketing program now in its third year for wool from heritage breed sheep. And so we've really engaged a lot of people that are doing fiber arts, knitting, weaving, crochet, felting, etc., and help them to understand the characteristics of wool from the heritage breed sheep. And that's really how that helps, is that the more wool that our farmers can sell, the more money they can put back into their farms and the bigger they can grow their flocks. So that's a couple of examples.
So, Allison, one of our great programs, both name and what it does, is that Shave 'em to Save 'em that we do. And we have a particular interesting program coming up with that called the Bodacious Bag Challenge. And I think also sweaters. Tell our audience a little bit more about this Shave 'em to Save 'em and the Bodacious Bag Challenge and how they can get involved with that, especially if they want to both do the bag and perhaps if they're a knitter, they can do the bags, but also they can purchase them, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely right. So that's exactly what I'm talking about, is this promotion for wool from heritage breed sheep. And you can get involved at rarewools.org website, and you can find links from there to, we also have a Shave 'em to Save 'em Facebook page with a very active group there of people who are involved in all facets of fiber arts, from spinning. And I know that spinning and weaving are something that Conner Prairie's youth core group get involved in quite a bit, and on all the way on up. So we've been doing, I call them pop-up challenges for fiber arts aficionados to try out some things and some techniques and so on that they haven't done before, or to try out new projects. And the one that's coming up, the Bodacious Bag Challenge, is to create a bag out of heritage breed wools. It can be anything from an evening bag to go out with your finest evening gown, to a shopping bag to take to the grocery store to buy your vegetables, in whatever technique that you want to use. And we're looking forward to that. And so that'll be coming up starting I want to say around the 1st of June, but I may be off a little bit by that date. And so you can find that and much more either on our Shaven to Save 'Em website or on our rarewolves.org website. Sorry,
So,
Shaven to Save 'Em Facebook page and Rare Wolves website.
well, you mentioned the Facebook page, and unlike Conner Prairie, which is a physical site that people can come see these animals, the Livestock Conservancy is an organization based in North Carolina, and you have a membership. But you do things that help that are program related. For instance, you have Facebook live chats with the Livestock Conservancy that we do quite regularly, a way for the public to reach out and ask questions and get information. So can you tell us a little bit just about that before we kind of end our conversation today?
Yeah, absolutely. As so many organizations, this did start during COVID as a way to expand our reach. And it took something that we have often done in public, which is chicken chat. Chicken chat is just a panel of chicken experts that people who are raising chickens or ducks or geese or turkeys can come and ask their questions. How can I prevent hawks from picking off my chickens? Things like that. And so since then, we've devoted each month to an individual species. Chickens. April was rabbits month, and goats and sheep and so on. And we bring on experts who have the experience either with a particular animal or with their products, and invite the public to ask questions. And so these can be found on YouTube, and they really cover a broad range of subjects, anywhere from cooking to horses being used in therapy to marketing. If you are a farmer and you want to expand your skills in marketing your meats at the farmer's market or something like that, although it's not just unique to heritage breeds, of course. And we've got quite a range of subjects out there, and have a lot of fun on those chats.
So Allison, please tell me that in November we have Turkey Talk.
We do indeed have Turkey Talk.
I thought we did.
You want to suggest any guests for us this November?
Well, no, I like the fun that our organization has, and of helping people understand what these animals are about. So that's one of the great things about being a board member. I think is the fact that we do all of these different types of things. So you have a very diverse board of people from across the United States that is working with you and the staff to do this. Tell people, before we end the interview today, tell people how they can get involved with the Livestock Conservancy. What can they do individually besides coming and supporting a place like Conner Prairie?
Right, and that's a great place to start, is educating yourself at a place like Conner Prairie, and sharing the stories of rare breeds with others to spread the information about what heritage breeds are and why they matter in the world, and so that is part of the International Heritage Breeds Week. And people can get involved even more so, certainly by becoming a member of the Livestock Conservancy and working with us. We do have volunteer needs, but also the many farmers who are raising these breeds can use a helping hand. And so buying products from your farmer who's raising heritage breed chickens, buying their eggs, for example, buying the heritage breed's wool is another way to get engaged. Or conversely, if you are a website whiz and you want to help a small farmer to get their website working well, so that they can do a good job, that's the sort of help that a lot of small farms can use, even if it's just spreading the word. So those are a couple of ways that folks can get involved. They can reach out to us here at the Livestock Conservancy, info@livestockconservancy.org, and we'd be happy to provide them with even more ways that they can get involved.
Well, thank you, Allison, for taking so much time to be with us today, to be part of this video that's really promoting International Heritage Breeds Week, but more specifically, Heritage Breeds itself and what the Livestock Conservancy and its members are doing to make sure that these breeds that we have today will be here tomorrow. So Allison, once again, thank you for being with us today. Do you have any parting words?
Norman, I'd like to just highlight one other thing that we're doing that we haven't had a chance to talk about today, which is microgrants. And so for members of the audience who are farming and who are raising heritage breeds, we offer small grants to people who are already engaged in breeding heritage livestock and poultry. And we'll be opening that up in June for the applications for the 2022 season. And this is really to help people that just need a tiny helping hand to get them to the next level. It may be, adding new pens so they can add more animals. And it may be finding that one special breeding animal that's going to improve the quality of their livestock, things like that. And so for folks who would like to promote that or help or who would like to apply for those grants, that information can be found on the Livestock Conservancy's website, and just look for micro grants. But thank you very much, Norman, for having me here today, and thank you for all that Conner Prairie is doing to help preserve and sustain heritage breeds and to bring attention to them to the public.
Well, we're definitely pleased to do that. It's a passion of ours, as you know, from the time that Eli Lilly first purchased Conner Prairie to preserve the house, but also created the farm. He's always had an interest in really teaching and helping people learn in ways that books can't do that. And I think whether it's living history or if it's heirloom plants or it's heritage breeds, people have a chance to come to a place like a Conner Prairie, Colonial Williamsburg, Plymouth Plantation, Old Salem, and your neck of the woods and such, and see it firsthand. And but that being said, our type of organizations need to work with the larger organizations like yours to make sure that these breeds are being conserved in ways that the next generation can enjoy them and learn how to use them. So we appreciate the work that you do, Allison, and we're very happy to be featuring this during International Heritage Breeds Week.
Thank you.
All right.